Ciao, my name is Donato Marrazzo. The purpose of this video is to show you a new capability that is going to be released in the next version of Openshift Serverless Operator. This capability falls inside the category of serverless logic. So the purpose of the serverless logic is to add more logic, as the name suggests, and sophisticated capabilities to build your application. One of the capabilities that serverless logic is introducing is the serverless workflow. Serverless workflow is a powerful feature that lets you create new workflow inside Openshift. As you can see here, this is the page, and you will see this link in the description of the video. This page shows you the draft documentation of these capabilities. Moreover, I have built on top of the current version of Serverless Logic a tutorial. This tutorial guides you through a set of examples that you can build step by step, starting from a project where you can experience the basic feature of the serverless logic and the serverless workflow capabilities. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you the result of this tutorial, so you can have a quick understanding of what you will get at the end of the tutorial. And maybe this video can also help you to quickly evaluate how powerful is the serverless workflow. Okay, so let's start from really beginning. In the tutorial, you will start from here. So you will have a simple project, and you can start from this simple project instead of creating everything from scratch. So I already cloned the repository. Again, you will find the URL of the GitHub repo in the description of this video. And so you will start from here. So let's see what we have. To explore the capability, you have to use code, Visual Studio Code. And this is the project that you will find. The project is based on top of Quarkus, so this capability is extending Quarkus. And the first thing that you will get is a really simple workflow. So how the workflow is designed? The workflow is designed using a JSON, and this is a really simple workflow with only one state, so more or less an hello world process. And the only result of this workflow is to print a message in the console. We will see soon how to trigger this process, and we see also the result. Before going forward, I want to show you this feature. So one of the interesting capabilities that you have is to visualize the workflow. And the workflow here is really simple. So you have a start node, you have an action node, and finally you have the completion of the workflow. So I would say that this is one of the most important things of a workflow, to visualize what you have. Otherwise, it will be just code. Let's trigger this process. So before triggering the process, I need something that is running inside my machine. So let's start Quarkus in dev mode. Behind the scene, when I start up Quarkus, it will be able to trigger a couple of Docker image, of container image, with services that support the workflow execution. So behind the scene, Quarkus, when start up, it triggered the container image. So in my case, I'm using Podman, as it suggested inside the tutorial, but you can use also Docker if you like. Okay, now Quarkus is up and running. How we can trigger the process? So the way to trigger the process is to send a REST request, so an HTTP request, and a simple way to do this is to leverage another code extension, which I find really really comfortable when you have to send a REST request. It's more clear and more flexible than the cure command, in my opinion. So I would use this this extension. So this extension, basically, here you have the post request, the payload. You can see here that the payload is pretty simple. I'm going to send the order ID and the item for this order. Okay, so we send the request here, and this is the response that you get back from the engine. So you get an ID of the new created workflow, and you get the payload that you just sent. Okay, so let's inspect inside one of the developer UI of Quarkus. So this is the Quarkus developer UI, and since inside this project you have a workflow deployed, it also show you a new tile here with the serverless workflow tools. Opening the workflow here, the workflow instance, you can see that you have one line with an existing workflow instance. The workflow instance is the ones that we have just triggered through the REST code. In fact, this workflow instance, that is really simple, is already completed. Drilling inside the specific workflow instance, I can look at the workflow picture, and I can also monitor the timeline, where I see that the workflow started a minute ago, the first action was order received, and then we have a print message, and finally the end. We can also inspect the variables that are used inside this workflow, and some other details. We can also look at the result of this workflow here. So here we can see the print statement, this one, order received, 1023, and the result basically is, the reason for this is because here we have printed a statement. So it's a really simple hello world thing, where we print the order ID that we just sent. Okay, so pretty easy, pretty simple exercise. Let's close this simple process, and let's do something slightly more sophisticated. Okay, in the tutorial you will go through all the steps to make this simple process more sophisticated. Now we're going to jump directly on the latest step. So let's take the solution of the process, and I will start from the long running process. Okay, I will copy on the current, and let's see the result. Okay, so here you have a workflow which is already quite more sophisticated than previous one, which was just an hello world process. So what we have inside this this process? Let's navigate the process from a graphical point of view. Okay, let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, the tool is a bit too young, so sometimes it requires a restart, otherwise it doesn't work so well. Okay, so I should be able to zoom it. Okay, fine. Sorry for the glitch, but it's still under heavy development, so something sometimes doesn't work as expected. Okay, so now you can see that the process is slightly more sophisticated. We have an incoming message here. You can see from the cloud that is a cloud event. So here this picture is supposed to be a cloud with a thunder inside, and this shows you that there is an incoming message from an external system. So the first step that we're going to do in this workflow, we are going to check the inventory. And based on the result of this service, we decide if the item that we are ordering is available or not. So if it's available, we can prepare the item for shipping. Otherwise, if it's not available, we're going to ask our external supplier to send the item directly to our customer. Finally, we have another external event. This is a wait point of this workflow. So we stop here and wait an external event. The external event can come from the external supplier or from our internal department that is in charge of shipping. So for sake of simplicity, the format of the event is exactly the same. It's again a REST event that comes through REST API. Pretty basic, but sophisticated enough to show you that this behavior, this is a long-running workflow. This means that before going to the next step, which is notifying the customer, you can wait a long time. It can be a minute, it can be a day, it can be a week, or even more. So it's really depend on the specific situation and use case, obviously. Okay, so let's probe this new example, which is slightly more sophisticated. So we are going to use another request here, which is slightly different. This request start the workflow in an indirect way. So before we have seen the REST API, where we went directly on the workflow engine and asked it to initiate a new instance. Now we are doing something that is slightly different. We are going to send a cloud event, and so the cloud event has it's a JSON payload, and it has a bunch of simple header which add some little sophistication. One is a unique ID, which identifies the cloud event, and another one is the order ID. Why this order ID is important, and we basically, as you can see, we use order ID again in the payload of the process. So why we are putting here the order ID? Well, this order ID is important because we use this order ID to do a correlation. So as you can understand from the previous exploration of the workflow, we have the workflow starts, and at a certain point it stay in a wait state. So obviously, if you have multiple workflow running, multiple workflow instances, and you want to wake up the correct instance, you need a way to correlate with the correct instance. So how to do this? So the way to correlate the information with the real instance that you are interested in waking up, you need a correlation ID. So the way to send the correlation ID is this one. So it's one of the information in the cloud event header. Okay, so let's imbue this event inside our engine. We will see we see that the event reached our infrastructure, and now let's see what happened inside the workflow engine. Okay, so the previous workflow instance was the old one, started 10 minutes ago, and now we have another workflow instance, which is the new one that we have just created. I have only a I believe, yeah, sorry for this problem. I forgot to change a little bit my workflow. I have to do this to create to save the image of the workflow. It's just a small glitch. Let me see if I can. Okay, so now you see that the diagram changed. So now we have the new workflow instance, and we have this behavior. So now our timeline is longer. We prepared for shipping the order. So now we are waiting here for the shipping event. So again, from a visual point of view, let me zoom a little bit in. We are exactly in this point. How we understand that we are in this point is because we have this active point, which is the shipping event, and after a while, when we send the second event, which is the order shipped event, you will notice that we will going to execute this notification to the customer. Okay. Other important things. So this, you may notice here that the inventory is true. This means that from the check inventory we got the item is available. In fact, we went through this path of the workflow, and finally we are waiting for the shipping event coming from the internal department. How to send the shipping event, so the event that is going to wake up our process instance and continue. Again, we need to send a cloud event. Okay, so here we send another event, the cloud event. Okay, sent. and so now previously the process, the workflow was active. Let's refresh, and what we see here is that the process execution continued, and we have the execution of order shipped, so this node of the workflow. We print a statement, we have a print statement, and finally we call this last statement, which is going to notify the customer that his order has been shipped. Finally, the workflow instance is completed. So far, so good. Let's do a step further, and let me show you again this picture. So the workflow instance, the last one is completed as expected, and now let's increase the complexity of our workflow engine. My final goal is to show you a little bit this workflow engine in all, well, not all, but at least something that is more than hello world use case. Okay, so the last step, so the last evolution of this workflow is the version 5 order. Okay, and okay, let's explore from from Visual Studio Code. Okay, let me decrease a little bit the font, and let's see now what we have in our process. So don't be scared. It's the process is more sophisticated than previously, but it's an evolution of the previous one. Okay, so at the moment we have this rendering of the workflow, which is less than ideal. Sorry for this, but as I said, it's still under development, so it's still a beta version. So what we have now, so the use case, I think that it's already clear for you. So we have check inventory. We check if the item is available in our internal warehouse. If yes, we're going to prepare for shipping. Otherwise, we're going to send the order to the external supplier. Let's disregard at the moment those yellow dotted line. I will explain this in a moment. So finally, we wait for the the next step is waiting for the external event, and the external event now can be different. So we have two possible events that come from our shipping department, or we can have the event that is, we have two events. The first one is that the order is shipped, like we did before. So the order is shipped and we just notify the customer. Now we have a new capability. What happens here? It happens that our customer, at some point, but before the order is shipped, our customer decide to cancel the order. Sometimes those things happens because the customer changed his mind and decided he doesn't need anymore the item, so he want to cancel the order. Or maybe he was expecting that the shipping was shorter and he waited for a while and then decided, okay, it's going to take too much and I want to cancel the order. Okay, so this is the use case that we have modeled in this workflow. So two events can arrive. The first one is that the order is shipped, or the cancellation event. The cancellation event comes from the customer who decided to cancel the order. After this, if one of the two events reach the next step, we have two possible behavior here. So if the event is the shipping event, so we're just going to notify the customer like we did before. So let's notify the customer that we have already shipped his item or his or her item. But what happens if the customer sent a cancellation event? So in this case, we are going to follow this branch. Okay, so this is one of the interesting capability of this workflow engine. So it handles the compensation behavior. So we say with this statement here, we are saying to the workflow engine that we need to unwind everything. So we need to cancel everything we did before, so we need to alert all our parties that we are going to cancel the workflow. So in this really simple use case, we have here only two possible activities. So one activity is engage the external supplier, and the other one is to engage our internal shipping department. So if we reach the compensation, we want to send to the internal department. We want to say, okay, stop shipping the item because the customer doesn't need anymore. Otherwise, we need to alert the external supplier, please stop shipping this item because again we need to cancel the workflow. So the action are different, the compensation action are different, and they depends on what was done before. At this point, we don't investigate what was done before, but it's automatically the workflow engine who keep track of what was done before, if we engaged the shipping department or if we engaged the external supplier to do the compensation action. And now it comes in help this dotted line, which is designed, which is drawing this not ideal organization, but okay. We see here the cancel supply order. So we do this action if previously was engaged the external supplier, and we call the restore inventory if we previously have engaged the internal shipping department. So the behavior of the workflow depends on what was done before. From design point of view, this is really simple because you just say to the workflow engine compensate, and the workflow engine take care of calling the correct compensating action. Okay, so far so good. Hope that it was not so complex to understand this behavior. Let's see this in action. Okay, again we going to create a new start a new order. Okay, let's I'm not sure if I have updated the image. Okay, let's do it now. Okay. Okay, so let's trigger a new workflow instance with injecting this event inside the cloud event infrastructure. Okay, send request. The request arrived, and here Okay, we finally have a new instance here available, and we see well, how we understand this. So basically, the way to understand the behavior is just watching at the timeline of the order. The picture here is nice. It reminds us the process design, but you, at the moment in the current release, you have no hint of what is this or where is the status of the workflow. This is a temporary missing feature. Now you can see here that this item available is highlighted, but again this is only a glitch. The reason for this is because it was saved while this task was highlighted. But the important point, in reality we are stopped in this in this point. So we are waiting for two possible action: cancel event or shipping event. Sorry, for two possible events. So those are the events that we are waiting for. And you can okay, so okay, let's trigger the shipping event again. Let's refresh. Okay, so we notified the customer. The workflow went beyond the waiting state, and it completed with notifying the customer. Now let's see the other behavior. So let's see the compensation behavior. Okay, so let's trigger again the start event, and going back to the workflow instance, we have another workflow instance running. Again, we are waiting for the two events, shipping or cancel. Now let's try the cancel event. So I already have this cancel event available here. We send the cancellation, and let's see what happened on the workflow instance side. Okay, so finally you have the compensation that is triggered. How you can see this? So first of all, you see that after the order or the order shipped or cancelled, we have a print statement, and finally we see the compensate order. So this is the finally in the picture the path of the workflow that was followed. The compensate order triggered the compensation behavior. So we call the restore inventory in this case, because we went through the internal shipping department. And finally, we have the completion of the workflow. So sometime you have you see other action here just after the end event. It's only, this is again something which is here just for mistake. So basically it's a report mistake, because the action were so fast that they happened all at the same time, and here the picture is not available. It's not able to differentiate from what happened before and what happened later on. but I believe that I'm pretty sure that this is something is going to be fixed in the near future. So hope that this video was interesting for you. This is a first really a really early insight inside this new capability, the workflow engine inside the serverless inside the Openshift Serverless. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and see you soon. Thank you.